if you want to say this is pretty clear.
So we should know it's on Saturday.
Okay, are we good? All right, so here we go. We are going to look at separating the variables. We're not going to work these problems all the way through. We're going to do the separate part. Because I think as long as you separate it correctly, you guys are going to be able to handle taking the antiderivative and remembering plus C and all that other stuff. We just need to make sure we've got the separate part right, okay? So here's the simplest one. We've done this one before. This one is no problem, okay? It doesn't have anything but x's in it. And this is what got y'all messed up on the one that I actually gave you, okay? All right, so it hasn't got anything but x's in it. So all you need to do basically is multiply both sides by dx. Yes? So, are the variables separated? Does this have no x's, only y's? This side has no y's, only x's. Yes? So you would follow that up with taking the antiderivative of both sides. This side gives me y, and this side you would use the power rule, right? And not mess up. Yes? Okay, not do it backwards. Okay. So, what's the difference in problem number 2? There's a y. So if I separate, I say, well, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, do the same thing. There we go, I did exactly the same thing. Have I separated the variables? I have not, okay? I've got all the x's on one side, but my y's are on the 2 different sides. So we have to get this needs to go over here. And you have to do it by either multiplication or division. Subtraction is not going to get it. Okay, because if you did any sort of subtraction, you would have 3 minus dy. Okay, that's not going to get there for you. So you have to do it either by multiplication or division. All right? So what we're going to do, we're just going to divide both sides by y plus 3. Does that make sense? Okay, divide both sides by y plus 3. And you're going to get on this side 1 over y plus 3 dy. And on this side, you're going to get dx. Yes? Now, you see that that separates the variables. Yes? Okay, so just, I'm not going to work all the way through this. When I go to take the antiderivative, what is the left side? What am I going to have to do the left side? A little bit of u substitution. And we're going to end up with 1 over u, so your answer is going to have ln. Then love ln on the free response part of the exam. I love it. Okay? All right, on the other side, what am I going to get? I'm going to get x in here. Always going to remember plus c. Okay? On one side or the other, you don't have to put it on both sides. Okay? Does everybody follow? All right, so we're just going to kind of get these first few parts to say, how do I separate the variables? Usually they say dy dx, dv dt, but every once in a while they just throw prime in there, and you have to go from the problem with what the variables are. You know, this is still the y, it's an x, it's still dy dx, yes? So this is going to be dy equals 5x dx. Okay? Everybody see? Is that done? Did I do it? Okay, I want you to consider this. Look at those 2 things. What did I do to go from the first one to the second? It's a constant. It doesn't matter which side that constant is on. It makes no difference. When you go to look at an answer key that they've done for you or that I've done for you, we tend to keep it with the x's. That's where we tend to keep it. But that doesn't make any difference. It can go either place. Because after you take the antiderivative, you're just going to multiply both sides by 5 anyway. Does that make sense? Okay, so it doesn't make any difference. We good with this one? Okay, so the next one. I need to get the y on the other side, on the left, and I need to get the dx on the right. So what's that going to look like? Y dy equals 5x dx. If they have already tested the nastiness of antiderivatives of 1 over stuff in the multiple choice, then you may get one that's this simple in the free response. It might happen. It happens every once in a while. Maybe you'll have an issue. Okay? But it just means that that other thing is going to be somewhere else. It's not going to not be there. Okay? All right, so next one. This would be more likely. It wouldn't be quite as simple as that last one. It'd be a square root in there. Or they might throw a sign or an e to the x or something that's easy to take the derivative of. The key here is, do you get that the way to move this stuff around is by multiplying or by dividing? So on this one, you're gonna get what? 1/4y. And on this side, you're gonna get, yeah, I gotta change that, it makes me crazy. Yeah? And when I look at this right here, the first thing I think is, yeah, you know, if I put that 4 over there, it's not a fraction. Over here, the 4 is a fraction. Do y'all see it? But if I put that 4 over there, oh, and look, and I also managed to get it multiplying now. You can't do it if there's a plus or a minus there. If that were y plus 4, you couldn't do this. But because it's just multiplying, I don't have a fraction, and now I don't have a u substitution either. Do y'all see? Okay, everybody follow that? Which one's better? It may be a different speed, okay, whichever way you go. All right, what are you gonna do on the other one? Multiply both sides, okay? So you can multiply and have 4y dy equals x to the 1/2 dx. Or what would your other possibility be? Let's also look at yeah, y dy and 1/4. And you know, it really doesn't make any difference. They're both right. It's a constant multiplier. It doesn't matter. Does that make sense? Okay. Now we're going to get to one that looks a little more like the one on the exam. Okay. First, what do you do to this one? Well, multiply by dx and divide by y. So we get 1/y dy equals x dx. We got a little natural log going, then we got a little power rule going, there's a plus c, no problem. Okay? The next one looks like the one that's on the test. It was on the test. Only had d's instead of y's and t's instead of x's. Okay, so what is it I have to do to this? Multiply by dx and divide by what? 1 minus y. Yes? Divide by the whole thing. Divide by 1 minus y. Everybody see? This is what didn't happen. Okay? Y'all just left the b over there with the p. You just kept on going. So you didn't separate the variables. And what does it say on the scoring guide? What does that say? Separate the variables, you get 0 out of the rest of the points, which is always 5 or 6 or 4, somewhere around there, a lot. Okay? So let's just kind of crunch through this one just a little bit before we get to the next problem. We'll see what happens here. We're going to take the antiderivative of both sides. And some of you have gotten a little bit better at simple u substitution in your head. Okay, I'm not good at it, and I've been doing it off and on for 20-something years. I get my constant multipliers wrong. This one, you need to think through this. The u substitution is 1 minus y, so du is not dy. What is it? It's negative dy. Yes. So when I get ready to do this u substitution, what's going to be in there? A negative. Y'all see? And then I don't have to show the whole substitution. They're okay with that. You don't even have to show this. But when I do this, I am going to get the natural log of the absolute value of 1 minus y. Yes? And a negative. Yes? If there had been a 2 here, right there, there'd be a negative 1/2 on the outside. Does that make sense to everybody? Now on the other side, I'm going to get 1/2 x squared plus c. Well, you know when you do this, 1 point for separating the variables, 0 out of 5 if you don't do it. Okay? 1 point for getting both derivatives, antiderivatives right. If you get them both right, get the next point. And you know what you get a whole point for?
Plus C.
Writing that on your paper. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
But you know what? Because people don't do it. And if you don't do it, you can't get the next point, which is to find it. So, you know, if you do it, you're likely to try to find it. Yes? And then if you can't find it, what if I told you to do if you need the constant you can't find it? Make one up, put it in, and do the next step, which is solve. And we're going to save that for the next part, for the actual problem. Does everybody follow? Okay, so let's go to the actual question. Maybe I should get my key.
Yeah, I will fine. Have the recording.
Sometimes I wonder if I should record myself saying things like, "Baby,
Well, don't forget to record for Julia.
I am.
Oh, hey, Julia.
So, and Sarah is not also here, and is that it, just two? Okay. All right, so here we go. We're gonna go through all parts. I've just sort of copied, this is the question. I took all of those things up at the top and I wrote them here, all that stuff in the words. Y is V of T, T is days, V is weight in grams, and they told me the initial weight was 20 grams. So we'll pull all that together. Okay, a lot of you did A mostly right, okay, except, does anybody remember what you lost points for? You lost points for doing this. You lost points for saying dv dt equals, and what did they tell you to plug in? 40. And so you plug in 40, and you wrote this, 100, some of you wrote this, some of you didn't write it, and the answer was, is that right? 12. And then you wrote dv dt, and you plugged in 70, 1/5, 100 minus 70, and you got the answer of 6. Okay? And most of you, when you did this, you answered the reasoning part right. I don't remember what it was, but it's something, which one of these is bigger? So that's pretty obvious, which one's bigger. Okay, well, why did I not give people full credit for this? There's two different things. You have to distinguish. Okay? So what the two ways to distinguish are, in front, you write x equals 40, x equals 70, not x, the problem is t, or this. We haven't done that in a while because we've been doing antiderivatives, and you don't do that for antiderivatives, and y'all just kind of forgot. Okay? Everybody see? And so that question, that one was not too bad. What does it say? Is the bird gaining weight faster or slower? Well, this rate of change is 12, and this rate of change is 6, so is it faster or slower? Faster at 40, okay? I also noticed that it doesn't actually say you have to use units in your answer. But you might as well, right? Okay. So you have to do the ddt. How did you know you're supposed to do the ddt? Is it gaining weight faster? Rate of change of weight gain. That is derivative. Lily.
Aren't you plugging in days, not days?
Oh, yes, sorry. Can y'all fix that, please, on your notes? Those are D's. I did the exact same thing when I took this. I wrote down T, just because I'm so used to it, okay? You're so used to that being the letter that's over there. It actually absolutely should be B. Did everybody get that? Okay. All right, I'm going to fix this. Y'all go ahead and read the second question, because almost nobody got this one right either. It was even worse than the first one, I think. Okay? Okay, this is a 2-point question. First, find, what does that notation mean? Second derivative, find the second derivative. And then take your answer and use that to explain why the graph they showed you can't be right. If you get the wrong second derivative, but your answer with your second derivative does a reasonable job of explaining why that graph can't be right, you could have gotten that point, and I think some of you did. Okay, bad second derivative, but your explanation and understanding of what it told you was correct. So what happened here was y'all did this, you wrote this down, and you said, oh, well, that's just 1/5. Or somebody said it was negative 1/5. Okay. And I think that's because it's B's and T's and not X's and Y's. I honestly think that's what it is. 1/5 of 100 is 20 minus 1/5 B. Okay, what am I taking the derivative with respect to? Time. Is that time? Then what do you have to put after that B? dv dt. Oh, yes. And that just didn't happen. So I did the distributive property first. You do get that negative 1/5. And then what do you put? ddt. And then what do you put in there? dv dt, which they gave you. Yes? Okay, that's basic implicit differentiation. Okay? It was, y'all lost it because it's B's and T's. I think probably if it had been X's and Y's, more people would have not missed that problem. So it's going to be negative 1/25 times 100 minus B. Yes? Okay, and then the question about why can the graph of B not look like this thing had to do with concavity. This concavity changes, it's up and then it's down. And for all these values, what are we good at? 0 to 100? I think, or to 20. Anyway, this any number you put in here that's in the domain of this, any of these numbers right here, this is always positive. And then times -1/25 means the second derivative is always negative. Okay, this second derivative that we have right here is always negative, therefore B would always be concave down. I'm losing. Okay, concave down. Maybe you'll remember it because I'm drawing it that way. And the graph obviously is not always concave down. Okay, so like I said, if some of you got a bad second derivative, most of the people had -1/5 here, but then they took that and they knew what that told them about. Okay? All right, so implicit differentiation. Yes? Okay, now let's get to the 5-point question. Okay? And that is separate the variables. So I'm going to let y'all separate variables first. There's one way? Yes? What else could you have done with that 1/5? We'll do multiply both sides more. And you could have distributed it, and then you could have said 1 over all of that. That would have also been right. If you multiply both sides by 5, I'm going to tell you that if you're looking at the scoring guides, the tendency is to leave the constant multiplier on the right. Okay? Not better or worse, that's just what they usually do. Anybody have a question about separating those variables? You see how that's the same thing I just showed you a few minutes ago? Okay, so how many points did we just get? There's 5 points available. 1. We checked 1. Okay, plus the potential for getting all the rest. Next, what do you have to do? Antiderivative. Okay, maybe you can see what this antiderivative is going to be without actually having to use substitute. How many of you already see? You know it's going to have ln? Okay, so work through it, get the antiderivative. If there were just 1/b, it would be 1/4 natural log of b. Absolutely. Okay, we got the antiderivative? Yes? How many points did I just pick up?
2.
I got 2 points, because I got the antiderivatives right, and I wrote, let's see, I'm up at 3 points already on the hard question, okay? Okay, y'all aren't gonna make that mistake ever again, right? You're gonna get this part. The next part involves you using the piece of given information, this right here, to compute and figure out what C is, and getting through that, we did a couple of these in class, okay, but it's kind of hard to do one more. So some people solve first and then plug the number in. I plug the number in first and then I solve, but both ways will work. When you look on full scoring guides, they tend to solve first and then plug the number in. They're both right. So I'm plugging in the point 0, 20, right? Negative natural log of the absolute value of, actually I can leave absolute value off of this, so I'll put it there anyway. Equals C. Oh, cool. Okay. What does C equal? They do it different around here. Negative ln. If you want to try solving it and then plugging in, I'll be glad to help you work through it that way as well. It's equally as good. So do I need the absolute value on that 80 anymore? No. So I can just say C equals negative natural log of 80. I go plug that back in. You just picked up one more point. You found it. Negative natural log of the absolute value 100 minus B equals 1/5 T minus the natural log of 80. Okay? And the last point is for going from this to an equation that says B equals, and not making a mistake. Okay? It's crazy that that's only worth 1 point. There's lots of things that can go wrong. Right? So are we all there? Step 1. Okay. We've already taken the antiderivative. Before I E, y'all made this other mistake. You need to get rid of that negative. Y'all made that mistake on another problem previous, I think it was on one of the area or volume problems you were solving. And the problem was something like y, negative ln of y equals 4 or something like that. I don't remember. You went to solve it and a bunch of you said e to the 4 equals negative y. That's not right. Look, a lot of y'all did it. You get rid of the negative first, and then you do e. Yes? Everybody see? Okay? That's an order issue. You've got to work from the outside in when you're solving. Right? So we get rid of the negative. Need a whole piece of paper for this. I'll turn it around. ln of 80 minus 115. The next thing is to get rid of the ln. Absolute value of 100 minus b equals e to the ln of 80 minus 115. Are we good? All right. Let's say it one more time.
On the right side, that isn't
Well, there are ways to make that go away, but because there's a minus here, you have to be a little bit careful with it. Can I show you that in a minute? Okay. All right, so now I need to get rid of the absolute value. How do we get rid of an absolute value? Plus or minus. And at that point, your brain should be saying it can only be one of them. At the end, I'll figure out which one it is. Okay? And then the last thing, well, what I did is I moved the B over there and the E over here, but either way, you need to get the B by itself. Does everybody see that? Okay? So in my head, I said, well, that's a minus B. I'm going to move it over there, and I'm going to move the plus or minus over here. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, so I'm going to have B equals 100 plus or minus E ln of 80 minus 115. And you're almost done. You still don't get the point, all that work. You still don't get the point until you determine is it plus or is it minus. And how do you do that? Use the point they gave you. What point did they give you? 0, 20. Put in 0 right here, and this is going to speak to Kristen's question. Put a 0 right here. Yes? And you get E ln of 80, which is 80. And so is it 100 plus 80 or 100 minus 80 to give you the answer 20? It's minus, and so you need to get that fixed in your answer. Did I see? Right. I don't know that this problem is hard. It's just a lot. There's a lot of stuff in it. Yes? It's not hard because any individual step is particularly hard. It's just a lot of stuff. Very good? Now the scoring guides for these always, they seem to give you, this is full credit. Full credit. If you got a minus there. But the scoring guides for these always, always, always change this. I talked about this one day in class. And last time, if you have X, oh, hello. Oh. I don't know why that came up. If you have X cubed over X squared, that's X to the 3 minus 2. And so you can go backwards from that. Yes. So they mess around with that using this rule. I don't really see why you need to worry about that. Okay, it's just not a big deal. Fool around with it. But let's see if I can get the scoring guide tells me this answer is. Well, it's over here somewhere. But you just fool around with this. E to the ln of 80 minus 115 is E to the ln of 80 over E
to the
115. And what's this? 80. Right there. And then you can pull that right back up to the top and say E to the negative 115. Y'all see? It is simpler to look at. I know why they're doing it, but you don't have to do it. You don't.
So you could leave it at that first one right
Yes.
there.
Okay. If they really want to make sure you know how to do it that way, then they're going to make this a multiple choice question.
That's so.
Okay? All right. Bye, Julia.
I actually.
Get started.